Okay, so psychopathology of multiple personality disorders with metaphysics. Some days ago, I watched a movie called Split. It was a movie about split personality disorders, multiple personality disorders, a bit dramatized and thrillerized with a certain lady that was kind enough to show me this movie. And I would like to start this lecture with a short citation from Austin Osman's British magician, a paraphrase of his work that the consciousness itself is continuous, but it may be animated by various personas, whether through regression, metempsychosis, reincarnation, whether dormant identities that we carry with us every day. So the development of personality in the multiple personality disorder, when it's split, is very similar to internalizations of larvae in schizophrenic voices, but in exoteric sense. A schizophrenic exoterizes sub-personas or larvae drilling his mind and connecting to his audial core and his Broca's area that feed off his mental focus, attention, concentration in a feedback loop that cannot be undone unless the larvae themselves are removed from the schizophrenic patient's mind, which is a bit like shamanism, not psychiatry, right? And in the case of multiple personality disorders, those sub-personas are internalized. You play them, you believe in them, you are them. You cannot separate them, right? Reflection and internalization of personas, what the mind thinks. You are really committed to what you believe in. You play the identity. You are not an actor playing a mask. You are this identity. So the factors such as intelligence, actorship, malleability, character traits, charisma, genius even, have a large effect on what the personality type will be like. For example, a psychopath will develop a different multiple personality disorder, a histrionic psychopathological dynamic, a different one, and so on and so on. A regular person will also be more, let's say, blunt on those issues when MPD may occur. So how does it happen? We have a strong, robust ego, and some trauma happens. Something goes wrong with our mind. Not necessarily traumatic, stress, environment, so on, and it splinters. So the ego cannot uphold the integrability of the identity and starts to decompensate and split into identities. So let's call it masks, the fully played masks. As I mentioned, the actor goes on the stage and plays an identity, but he's a robust ego. An MPD is split and he's not an actor, but he fully lives all those identities. And let's see where metaphysics kicks in. Ontological realities, hidden, occulted. So the splits may be animated by the other sides. Things about ghosts in the shell, ghosts in the mind, ghosts in the splintered identities of a multiple personality disorder patient, and so on. So this is the cross-section of psychiatry, cognitive sciences, psychopathology, and metaphysics, and ontological realities, and various worlds, dimensions, and entities that may, or not necessarily may kick in to utilize this or to blindly execute their own wills. So, we have the ontological embodiments such as incarnations, possessions, emanations, habitatizations. I covered it elsewhere. So the development of natures and identities via embodiment. So your nature may be developed by such possessions, not only by your own mind in a box, or everything reduced to mind. Yes, it may. For example, we start with a robust ego, a platinum class ego. Then it splits into two identities. Now what happens? This is sustained by consciousness, a continuous line, and then embodiment, possession may happen, animating one of those identities, and something goes wrong because we have an identity that is controlled. Now, if you have one solid identity, we may be blind to it. If we have multiple personalities, we may be blind to it and annihilate it. But there is one point that is integrable. If we are aware by our consciousness, by our ajna, shushumanadi, daimon, genius, Socratic genius, we may integrate it and expand. We may devour those natures and identities in order to enhance ourselves. So there is also core development. We have the identity in multiple personality disorder, that is regular mind dynamics explained in a very complex fashion by psychiatry, psychology, and developmental psychology, and so on, And we have the embodied identity that is animated by an external entity too. Very complex, right? So the nascent identities are co-developed by embodiment and mind dynamics. Think about it as ghosts inhabiting you, spirits inhabiting you. Apart from regular reductionist psychiatry, reductionist psychology, we have the indivisible world in which the occult unseen forces may sometimes interfere. And then there is a problem or expansion. There's destruction, insanity, or obsession, or psychosis, or there is genius, expansion, greatness, catalysis, inspiration by our muses. So, the natures, there's the idea that they pull each other to its likeness. They may be attracted by aversion, and they try to make you into themselves. So natures that try to absorb you to render you similar or adverse. And likewise in rhetorics, when we try to talk with other people and we try to convince them about a certain idea or a certain belief, we try to make them alike to ourselves somehow. So we try to possess them ideologically, religiously. We need to convince them that we are right and they are wrong. We need to claim them, absorb them, cannibalize them in a way. So, mutabilities or mutant ghost ideas and natures, it constantly, continuously evolves. So imagine that you have this identity that is uninfluenced. It evolves anyway, psychodynamics. The other one is the embodied identity. It expands, mutates, and it may be animated by many entities and develops into some chaotic frenzy, for example, or a crystallized intelligence, a continuous, self-supported, genuine, authentic person. This is covered elsewhere. So let us see if we experience those traumas, but we develop certain comparative levels of self-reflection and self-understanding, we tend to crystallize something that is called a holy guardian angel or a daimon. It's like a Socratic control center. It's a, let's say you dispatch your mind, soul, heart, crystallize it, rectify it in alchemy, and dispatch it to heavens on high. And this crystallized spirit has more power, more understanding, more wit of work and so on, and is your hegemon. And the act of contacting with this holy guardian angel is an act of tajali, conversations with your holy guardian angel that influences you from above as the best of your versions, mutable, from mutabilities that you establish, the highest registries of what you are capable of, and influencing you. But first it needs to crystallize, rectify, and you need to give birth to this daimon. So, you may have a platinum class ego, but without knowledge of yourself, and that was covered elsewhere in my different lectures too. Without gnotise auton and without moderation, you cannot combat those foreign influences because you cannot compare them to what is your nature. And you don't know what is your nature until you start combating, contrasting and comparing what is your nature and what is not. So, if gnotise auton goes towards the control center, the Socratic genius, it's this sublimation and rectification. You tend to be more integral, more intelligent. You multiply it, multiply it, multiply it. If it goes down, it leads to splintering and expanding, or a true psychopathology, multiple personality disorder, because it's unintegrated. It is psychopathological because it brings suffering, it brings existential dread, misunderstanding, derealization, depersonalization, and so on, so on. So what is the limit? If we have the regular identities, we have multiple identities and embodied identities, that is possessed identities, 1, 2, 3 until lambda, let's say to lambda. The lambda is the limit of decompensation or psychotic delirium. The lambda is in a sense the limit of your mind that may hold such identities before it completely goes insane. So respect your ghosts. And remember that not every nut or a loony is out to get you or is a dangerous psychotic, because there are many people and many minds and cognitive phenotypes in our diversity that achieved very high thresholds of understanding of these models of the mind much better than many would think. Thank you.